This is season 2, episode 6 of Campaign for America with Dennis Andrew Ball. We got some exciting things coming our way going on as well. We got a call-in line, so if you want to call in and give us your thoughts on the show, it's 702-482-8620. Allie, I just seen your text saying I had an echo. I assume you're watching. Why don't you call in? It's your first chance you get. We'd love to hear from you on the air. All right, with that being said, folks, let me read our disclaimer and then get into the intro, and then Dennis can do some housekeeping. The views expressed on this show are expressly the views of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views, beliefs, or opinions of newsforus.world, its hosts, broadcasters, or affiliates. Remember, folks, always use your own discernment when viewing. We encourage our viewers to think for themselves. Welcome, everybody. So we've got everything ready to go, and let me share my screen so we can play the intro. Hey, that rhymed.
In 1980, Ronald Reagan wore a white suit, a red tie, and a white shirt and addressed the nation. Hi, I am Dennis Andrew Ball, and I am running for President of the United States. I am talking to you right now because the debates that were conducted this week need to have a presidential response. The economic issues that both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney answered created in the minds of many of us unanswered questions of how do you sustain economic growth in the United States of America. In light of the decisions and the events that have happened since 2008, what do we need to do to reduce the deficit, increase job creation, maintain Social Security and Medicare, and provide the opportunity for our children and future generations not only to survive, but to thrive in a global economy. I would like to talk to you quickly on how I perceive what needs to happen. The United States of America at this time is suffering because the means of production have not equaled the ends of production that it requires in order to sustain its middle class. The United States of America must reindustrialize itself to make it possible that 23 million Americans can go back to work in industries that are productive for themselves and their families. What we are witnessing on a daily basis is the demise of the American family, the traditional American family, of children, parents, and grandparents, by people in authority who have used, abused, and misused their positions to hurt our people. This must stop, and it will under my administration. The need at this moment of time is to get our organs of power in business to invest in research and development, to make it possible for industry to not only survive in America, but also to thrive. My attitude is that the production capability of the United States is equal to none. Our workers are very productive if given the opportunity, but they must be protected by government that concerns themselves with their best interests. And that has been a problem for many years in this country. My attitude also is that in order for our people to get themselves in a position to care for themselves and their children, we have to evaluate at this moment in time what is important for that to happen. And I believe that it will be more of a decision on the part of the American people when they go to the voting booth to decide who they think is best qualified to do that job. I believe also that we are in a position to make decisions that will impact the course of history and to bring about positive change in the lives of our family structure. I want to say that in order to do that, the means of production will have to be a top priority to reindustrialize the middle class and to provide the support for the future generations. I want to say this, that in terms of how we go about this business, the President of the United States should be very aware of what has happened and what needs to happen. My interest at this time is to educate through my administration of candidacy for presidency to make it possible for you to learn more about me and to decide if you are better off since the election of Barack Obama and the changes that need to happen in terms of the increase in gas prices, in food prices, the mortgage forfeitures that have happened since him, and also what we will do in the future to make it possible for more people to be employed out of 23 million who are not. Consider this opportunity to communicate to your friends and your neighbors my thoughts, and I look forward to hearing from you. I need presidential electors who will vote for me through the Electoral College when I win the states in this country to become your next president. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
All right, Stephen, that was excellent. And I want to tell you folks that we are getting more and more people engaged in communicating with what needs to happen now. I'm very encouraged, just to let you know. This is a work of God, and I consider anyone and everyone participating in this to be the chosen of God, because the nation is in so much turmoil, so much trouble. Daily, I get phone calls from people all over the country who are in depression, anxiety, and stress because of the policies of the Biden administration and Obama, as he has put his mark, his stamp on our society, and it is not any good because we are not progressing in terms of mental health, prosperity, the ability not only to survive, but to thrive, and what is necessary to make that happen. Now, I've written several books about this, folks, and it would be to your benefit to check that out at Amazon.com. I also have written a book called One Nation and my autobiography for you to get to know me better. I just want you all to know I will not stop fighting for you, myself and Richard A. Sanders, my vice presidential running mate from Marion, Illinois.
The corporate office of GPS Express.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ted.
Okay.
I
All right.
hit the wrong button. I was trying to get rid of some of the call history from a couple spam calls in the call-in line, and I accidentally hit the call button. Go ahead, continue.
Yes. Okay. So there's been a lot go on here. We have episode 5 that I'm going to distribute today. This is episode 6. This is a continuation of episodes 3, 4, and 5, and now we're going into 6 because the issue of reshoring jobs to me is a top priority. To get our people working, this homelessness, joblessness issue is because people don't have living wage jobs. You can't raise a family on minimum wage. You can't even support yourself on minimum wage, let alone trying to support a family. And I fear that, marriage in America will be destroyed because people cannot survive in a relationship, any partnership. And we've had examples of that even here in Florida of late. Even it's touched me personally. I'm not engaged in any of that, but I have people in this campaign who are, and there are issues that go back and forth with them. And that's unfortunate, but that's reality, and that's life, and that's what we're all dealing with now. And so I want to say that also, Stephen, you're there in Las Vegas. You had the Super Bowl over the weekend. The Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. What can you tell us about what that was about?
Well, I can tell you the Chiefs won, but that's about it as far as that goes. I'm not really more of a baseball fan, to be honest, but the Chiefs definitely won. I kind of figured that they might, or that they would. Actually, I called it before the game. I told my mom, I said, guess what? I bet the Chiefs are going to win this one. I just have a feeling. And sure enough, they did.
I picked them also. Personally, I think, as I said in the last show, San Francisco to me is kind of a show. It's a showman type football team, and they pride themselves in that. Whereas I feel the Chiefs are more strategy, and the coach wants to create surprise in their play calling that causes the other teams, especially the Niners, to pause and reflect on what is going on around them. And so I think about that quarterback for them, Brock Purdy. I think he did a decent job. He managed the game, but it wasn't enough to win the game. And that's when you're getting the Super Bowl. I think that last play of the game in overtime really describes the brilliance of Harry Reid, their coach, and the ability to execute through Patrick, the gentleman's name, Mahomes. Yeah, I think that's Patrick Mahomes. And so they won. And I think they're going to have some more trophies coming. I think they will, especially looks like to me they've figured it out. So good for them. Good for the Chiefs. I lived in Kansas City, was married there, and left for Denver, Colorado in the 80s, and had the opportunity to build a business and experience entrepreneurship, and that was a good thing. And as time went on, there were more good things that should have happened that didn't, but that's life again. And of course, when you have family members who are stressed out and on their way out of our lives, you have to make decisions there too. And so I did. And it's all in my book, The Champ Winning in the Ring of Life. And we all suffer or we overcome. And we just never know who will show up either to help us or harm us. And that's life. So I just wanted to say today that as the campaign rolls on here, Stephen, I have been in touch with the folks at KLAS TV Channel 8 News. They have been extremely busy. I spoke with one of their assignment desk people last Friday, and today is Tuesday. So this was on Super Bowl weekend on Friday, and I have not been able to be in touch with them since. However, the short 30-second spot that you created with the book called Full Disclosure, We're Not Alone, on your desk was very timely. And I expect and see that people are receiving this and they're looking at it. And this subject of the UFO extraterrestrial issues is making its way. Before we came on tonight, I saw where someone had listed some photos of aliens that were taken at Roswell. Supposedly, one picture it looks like a diver suit that this person or this being has. And then there was a video of what this live alien looked like, and there were doctors and medical people treating it. I can't tell you what it was because talking about transgenderism, I have no clue what gender that person or what that entity was. But they were doing to check this person out, and I think they were learning about what this entity was. And from what I gather, they talk about these beings, they communicate telepathically. They don't actually speak words. It's all in the mind. You there, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to copy and paste the call-in line to the Facebook chat so it's easier for people to see it, what the number is.
Yeah, I see it, 702-482-8620. Folks, feel free to call in, ask questions. This is the campaign for America. Ball for All 2024, Ball Sanders 2024, the AOA-ANC.org. I was asked today by my Florida campaign manager if I would ever consider having a relationship with a woman, and I said, I'm married to the AOA.
You're married to your work, basically.
You bet. The AOA to me is me. It reflects who I am and why I created this party and why it's necessary that this party advance to its young people and to the families and the future, not only of this country, but the world. And our friends there in Uganda communicates with me on a regular basis, and I communicate with them. And I am highly encouraging them to get a copy of the Ball Doctrine. They understand what the goal is here, to create a middle class in every nation. I think that's very timely and important. And I am looking forward to going to New York when I feel that the security issues are satisfied, so that when I fly in, I'm not going to get mugged by a bunch of thugs. That's a fact.
I know it's horrible down there, isn't it? Right now, I mean, everything is like just from what I've been hearing from people that actually live out there. I mean, people are scared in New York from what I've been hearing from someone that I work with. That
you bet. And like Stephen Colbert is there. He does his show, the late night show, which he took over from David Letterman. Okay. And then Jimmy Fallon. I think Jimmy Kimmel might actually tape out of New York as well. I think Jimmy Fallon tapes out of Burbank, California, very close to Hollywood. I've been there. I've been to NBC Studios. I know that scene. Remember this, I am a writer. I have actually submitted scripts to the Writers Guild. I've registered some of my work there. If a producer likes what I've written and wants to use the product, they're more than welcome to contact me, and we will negotiate a contract, and they can produce it. One movie I've got called Star Tales: The Adventures of Jason Saberpower, a 10-film Star Wars Star Trek series. It's exciting. It's an exciting movie series. The thing about science fiction movie production is that when you're a new kid on the block, studios are not going to put out money to produce film that you are an unproven product. So therefore, it puts you in a position as a new writer, producer, whatever, that you need to go to film school. And there are a few film schools in Hollywood, in LA, one at USC. There's another one in downtown Los Angeles. They've been trying to get my attention, and I would love to spend time there, but I'm a busy man with this campaign and running for president. Okay. And so all of these different opportunities that have come to me later in life have come by design, I believe, because I am a man of God, and I have worked hard to try and show that once you become a child of God, your life can and will prosper, in spite of all that which is around you. And in my case, with my own family, I cared for my own mother for 10 years. And as a consequence, as we both know, other factors entered into the lives of our parents, the adult parents, and have been designed to take them down. And now, if we do not do something about this, they will want to take us down too. And we cannot allow this to happen. We just cannot. And we must fight. We must be vigilant. And we must be determined that justice will be served on them who have caused so much harm to so many innocent. What say you, Stephen?
I agree. I agree. This is the time. This is the place. Let's take it back. If we don't, if we stand by and remain apathetic, we're not going to have a second chance to fight this and get our freedoms back. It'll be all over. So let's do this. Let's bring it home. Get involved. Fight the fight. Whatever it takes. Get involved in your local communities, folks. That's what it's going to take. Change starts at the local level, and then it becomes bigger from there.
Talk to me about what I know. You've been a very busy person with everything outside of what we're doing today. What type of experience are you having at the local level? I'd really be interested to know.
Oh, okay. For example, I go and I cover the school district board of trustee meetings regularly, because during public comment, what they did about a year and a half ago is they stopped showing people's faces on public comment. They would cut the video feed and only play the audio. So people's faces aren't being seen. One, that's censorship. So I go there and cover it, make sure the public spaces are seen. But more recently, myself, a couple other advocates and community leaders that are fighting this fight. One, Danielle Ford, former trustee, she's got a podcast and is exposing the goods on all the corruption with JARA and the board. And then Anna Pinder, who is running for trustee for District A, whose campaign I'm also helping her with. So that's how I'm getting involved locally, basically, if you want to get a little brief rundown on it.
What would you suggest to this audience that they do to make a difference in their own community?
Well, start running for office. If you're not interested in running for office, go and volunteer. Go help at a homeless shelter. Go volunteer your time to help somebody at a hospital. Help EMTs, on a paramedic or on a on an ambulance. Paramedic. That was freaking blunder. Anyways, get involved. It doesn't even have to be anything like that. You can even do stuff your own way. Start a podcast. Start a website. If you're not tech savvy and that's not an option for you, you can also go out on the street and start becoming an activist. Print out flyers, pass out flyers, talk to people on the ground, in your community. Ask them what their positions are on certain issues, and have an actual conversation and debate with them, like a real conversation, not an accusation, name calling, shouting match that we all seem to be having today because of all the politicization. Have an actual conversation. And even if you don't agree, that's okay. You can agree to disagree. We used to be able to do that in this country, at least 10 years ago or more. Last I recall, I don't know what happened to that, but we need to bring it back. So that's how people can get involved.
Exactly. And I appreciate that input, because we do need people to participate in the process of not only democracy, but of the republic for which it was founded and for which it stands. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And all of this is very timely in my world, because we are in a crisis. It seems like every day something else is happening, especially that border down in the southern part of the United States, with the number of people who are breaching the wall, believe it or not, going around it, finding every way to compromise what was intended to keep people out. Under my administration, they're going away. They are going back to their nation of origin, and we're going to get accountability in this country again. And if they don't like it, they're going to. Those who don't like it, I'm not talking about the American people who don't like it, but I'm talking about the officials who don't like it and their compadres who don't like it. I've written a book called The Deplorables versus the Despicables. Your Right to Be Heard. This book talks about the despicables. The despicables are the unaccountable bureaucrats in 75 government agencies on the federal level. Then we go into the state level on 50 states, where we have the governors and we have all of these different agencies, including child protective services, that get funded from the federal government. That has to be defunded. That place has to go away like today. As a consequence, these aspects of government oversight, if within the government, is what I've been talking about for many, many days, many years actually, since about 2011. And I continue to write about the lack of accountability, the need for accountability, and for people to jump into politics, win elections, and become the reason for the season, and to defund many of these agencies and these programs that do nothing but benefit and reward others who hurt and harm innocent people, especially those who are taking their children and those who are targeting their parents, especially females, through nursing home and guardianship for their money and property. They worked hard all their life, and then they end up basically in a gulag called a ward, and they're abused. And they may be paying big money to be there against their will. And as far as I'm concerned, that's guardianship gulag. I'm writing a book about this, actually part 1 and part 2 of the problem as well as the solution, what to do about it, how to do it. I've written a book called Tyranny from the Bench, Fighting and Surviving America's Judicial Nightmare. Talk about filing liens against those who have harmed so many in your own cases, as well as filing complaints with the Internal Revenue Service when the guardian fails to provide a final tax return that they are required to do according to the law, the tax law. Also, there is an issue of filing of wills. The state laws usually require a 30-day filing period to make sure that the will is filed. We have a case in Pennsylvania right now where a will and or trust has been rejected by the clerk's office because a law firm said they were going to file an objection to filing of the will. That's bizarre. You don't do stuff like that. That's a criminal act on the part of the law firm. They must be held accountable in my world. And as a court official, I will, because this is not acceptable. And as president, I understand what has to change and how to do that. I just want to tell you this, Stephen. Guantanamo Bay, Cuba is waiting, as well as bringing people to justice in this country at certain locations who need to be adjudged and punished for the criminal acts within the government itself that Lincoln had to deal with when the states seceded from the Union. And I believe Texas and California might be at that phase or stage right now. We will see. But the facts are the lack of accountability on the part of our government agencies and our administration, not only at the federal level, but also at the governor's level, where they are making money off of children and making money off of senior citizens, particularly wealthy women in guardianship. This has to be a real priority in my administration and in the lives of others who understand and identify with me with what needs to change and how to do that. The good thing that I'm concerned and pleased about is I am encouraged that more and more people are listening to me personally from the acts and events that are happening to them personally. And I did not wish for anyone to have to deal with these kinds of issues, but they're here regardless if we want them or not. They're in our lap and we have to do something about it. So there we are. What say you, Stephen? Can't hear you, Stephen. Can't hear you, Stephen. Can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah,
What
sorry.
happened?
I made the mistake of closing out OBS thinking that I was going to make my video feed not lag so much because it was lagging because of the OBS studio. And in the process, it cut off the audio, but I'm back.
Okay, good. I assume you edit these shows before we get them on the final cut.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll cut that part out, the silence. I agree. I think it's gotten to a point where the things have gotten so bad, not only with our political system and our government and our judicial system and our what's supposed to be our legislative and executive branches, and all of it. It's gotten so bad, and not only that, but the mainstream as well. I mean, look at how much lying these bastards have done, and a lot of this stuff you can go and look, check it, fact check it yourself. Just doing a little bit of research on some of these statements that these news organizations make, and if you go and do that, you'll see the vast majority of the statements that have been made from mainstream in the last 3 years or so, probably a lot longer, are total bullshit and gaslighting attempts. It's incredible. So in a lot of ways, the news for us was my way of fighting back and kind of bringing it back to actual objective journalism again, because obviously they weren't doing their jobs anymore. And so that's what I have to say about that.
Exactly, and I appreciate that very much. All right, so we have a little bit of time, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put my face away from the camera because I want to look with regard to Sean Broderick. He's the gentleman who has created these articles on reshoring of jobs in the United States of America. And for me, that is a very good priority to be focused on. And we will continue on that level. And I'm just looking here quickly for that information that I communicated last week. And we're going to forward on to more of this. And I want to say, folks, you cannot raise a family on minimum wage. You must have a living wage in order for your family to survive and thrive. Now, that was on January 15th. Today is the 13th, and tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's to everyone. If you're in a good relationship. Exactly. And I congratulate anyone who has a good relationship, and something that is really more uncommon than common in today's toxic culture.
Well, I can't count myself as one of those because I'm not in a relationship any longer. I just got out of one, but that's okay. I'm single now. I don't have to worry about it. But you know what? Sometimes that's what happens in life. Go ahead.
Right. And so if you recall last time, Stephen, we talked about Sean Broderick's evaluation of living wage jobs, AI, the dissatisfaction with China, that is the investment capital flowing back in the United States, factories being created here in America, AI helping to do that. Folks, I'm all for that. I think that's a good thing. There's a thing called the race to the top, which provides industry, universities, think tanks, to come up with new products and ideas and manufacturing. All of that's important. I would not be surprised that we have alien technology engaged in some of this as well. Some of the products that have come from some of the debris fields, from recovery aspects of the military. If you study this subject of UFO, otherworldly issues, you will find it has an endless supply of evidence that will spark your curiosity and want you to know more.
We have
And
a calling in right now. Let's take the call real quick, folks. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Alex
off,
Levine.
Dennis. All right.
To accept, press 1.
Hey, Allie, can you hear us?
Yeah.
You are live on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, what are we talking about?
We are talking about the issues, getting involved, becoming involved in your local community and politics and, making a change.
Yeah, that's awesome. I went to a state central committee member meeting on Saturday in our town, in our county, and there was about, besides the committee members, there was about probably about 25 people from the public that showed up. So not a lot, but it did make an impact. And we had some tyrants in the GOP committee trying to do some nefarious things and censor people. And we were able to restrict, actually reject those, their efforts in 3 different arenas that they were trying to pull. So it was pretty good.
That's great. That's awesome news. That's progress. And nonetheless, that's something, it's, little bits at a time, you chip away, and eventually that wall breaks down, and just because it doesn't work
Yep.
right away, or something doesn't go the way we planned, don't get discouraged, get back up and keep fighting.
Yeah. And I mean, call a friend, take a friend, just get
Exactly,
involved,
exactly.
and just say we're just here to observe, or don't go in there all threatening or anything, just because then they'll let their guard down, and hopefully everyone can start working together, because this is for our country. This is a bigger thing than we even knew was happening.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Oh yeah, way bigger than any of us ever imagined. I mean, it's such a problem right now we're facing. We can't afford to be divided by politicization or political ideologies. It's all bullshit. They've been using that shit to distract us for freaking decades. Left versus right. You know what? Let me tell you something, folks. They're all bought and paid for by the same owners. It's all BS.
Uniparty.
We need to start becoming involved, become a critical thinker, think for yourself. Don't believe anything anybody tells you. Look into it and make up your own mind.
Yeah, and
do we know where the caller is coming from?
I'm a
Yeah.
55-year-old female.
Where are you calling from?
And I'm like,
Where are you calling from, Allie? Dennis wants to know what state you're calling from.
Trumbull County.
I didn't hear that, Stephen. Where does she call from?
She said she's calling from Trumbull County, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Ohio, state of Ohio. Yes. That's how far are you from Columbus, Allie?
About 3 hours from Columbus. I'm a half hour from the PA border.
Okay. Is that close to Toledo?
No, I'm a half hour to the western PA border, so we're close to Pennsylvania.
Okay, PA. I got it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's nice. I, have campaigned up in New England and Pennsylvania. We have people there too who are engaged with us.
Come to Ohio sometime.
Well, you bet. I intend. I am in Florida right now. Have been since July. Florida is quite a adventure, to say the least. I had been here before, but not to this extent, not to this amount of time and the amount of effort and energy to bring about events and change. I had emergency gallbladder surgery. I'm 72 years old. Earlier
Oh, I'm glad.
this
I'm
month.
glad you're okay.
Me too. I mean, I had surgery and I'm okay now. And I'm still, moving forward here. I have just released a book called Full Disclosure, We Are Not Alone. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Joe Rogan, George.noory, Jeremy Corbell, Dr. Stephen Greer. These are the people who have done a lot of work. Prior to Stanton Friedman and his death, he was like 82 years old. He was a good man. He did a lot of research in this area of what the Roswell incidents were. And, the thing is, I believe, based on the evidence, that we are not alone. I'm the first presidential candidate in history to come out and have a book to support that with evidence. And Stephen here had put it on his desk as if he was running a show like Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel or even Joe Rogan, and getting it out there where the people can hear somebody who has done the research and determined, based on the evidence, that we are not alone and that it all fits. And that is a flyway to introduce the AOA to the nation. Praise God. Because we
one
need
more
a
time
change.
for our viewers, Dennis.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm going to hold up the book one more time for our viewers.
Oh, please do. Yes. And at some point in time, I think we should do a show on this book because it is a book that reveals the secrets and the cover-up of this government to our own people for several draconian reasons that really have caused our society to be held in ignorance of the facts. The American people, when they elect their government, do not elect them to hide things from them, including the Kennedy assassination. And my attitude is this: the reason we're in trouble in our family structure and in the culture as we know it today is because over 100 years have transpired of nothing but emotional, financial, mental abuse on the American people.
Allie, I want to get Allie's perspective on something real quick before we let her go. Allie, how do you think as a society we got to where we are now? Where did we go wrong in your view?
Well, just doing our work every day and believing that our representatives had our best interests. And, we're doing our jobs and we're thinking they're doing their jobs and they're not. So I think we just all got complacent. And also, I think just being complacent and not paying attention. Because when you get involved and call these people out on what they're doing, their wrongs that they're doing, then they're kind of shocked. They think that we work for them for some reason, but
they think we're stupid.
The other way
and we
around.
don't see what they're doing. That's what I think really shocks them, is they don't expect to get called out. And when they do get called out, they're like, whoa,
No.
what?
Yeah, we shut them down the other day and they were like, oh, they were not happy. And we showed up at a Board of Elections meeting this morning, put eyes on them there and there. I mean, it makes them uncomfortable, but they have to get used to it. We're not going away.
Amen.
Our job as a citizenry to be oversight and make sure that we call out corruption when we see it. That's
right.
The original purpose of freedom of the press was to act as checks and balances against corrupt officials. That's what it was put in place for in the first place. it's part of those checks and balances. Most people don't realize that. Go ahead.
Yes. No,
Well, I
you're
just want
right.
you to,
100%. It's just we have to pay attention. We have to get involved, and do FOIAs, do public records requests, find out what's going on. People don't go by hearsay. Do your own research. So
Absolutely.
they can't pull the wool over your eyes when you have the facts. They can't.
Yep, 100%. Thank you,
Allie,
Allie, for calling in. We appreciate it.
I would encourage Allie to join the AOA
Yeah.
at AOA and ANC.org. We need people like
Okay.
Allie who are in this party. The Republicans and Democrats are a uniparty. They're not representing the interests of the American people. The corruption is still ongoing. We cannot wait any longer, Allie. We must do something about this. We, the people. We must do what we must do. The AOA is here for you. If you're not fighting for your family, who are you working for? That's a very important
I
question.
work for
Yep.
God too. I mean, it's a spiritual warfare thing. I think too. There's just some really evil people that have no
Oh yeah,
soul
absolutely.
or heart or something. It's really creepy.
And even
I
if you
agree.
don't
Everyone
believe in
needs
evil
to get
yourself,
involved. Everybody.
go ahead. Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely, Allie. Everybody has to get involved. We can't afford to sideline, ourselves as citizens.
Right.
On an individual level, we all have to
Right.
do our part. We really do.
There's no more time, people. There's no more time. If you want to say we're in overtime at the Super Bowl, we certainly are in overtime, but there's no more time. We have got to act.
We're in overtime for this 5D chess game, which is for all the marbles, for all the fate of humanity. If we lose, humanity's done. If we don't lose and we hold the line, we have a bright and beautiful future to look forward to as a human race.
Exactly.
We
And
have to
that's,
do the work first.
right. We're not sugarcoating any of this. This is damn serious. What's going on in the family structure, the breakdown, the lack of living wage jobs, the fact that homelessness and joblessness are one and the same without a job, and the fact that the disrespect of family values
So you
has
gotta
become
go.
such a
Thank you
problem
for
in this
chiming in.
society.
Allie, thank you for chiming in.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
I know you're at work.
Have a good night.
We'll talk soon.
Keep up the good
Thank you.
work.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
All right, go ahead. Continue, Dennis. She was at work. I wanted to make sure we let her go so she didn't get in trouble. Go ahead.
I say, is she someone that you have communicated with in the past?
Yeah, I work with her on the Hilligus case coverage. She's the one who introduced me to Stu and Roger and all them and that whole team. Got me involved in that network.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice.
I trust Allie implicitly. Allie's solid. One of the most solid people I've ever worked with.
Well, that's good.
And
that's good. We need an Ohio contingent. Let me say this. I am encouraged. I'm very encouraged because I believe what we're doing is the work of God. I believe that. Otherwise, I'd be hopping a boat over to Port LaCai at Freeport and retire on a cabin cruiser.
I can feel it every day of my life. I can feel it. I know that we're doing that work because I'm getting guidance from something that I can't even begin to even explain, let alone fathom. But I'm getting patterns, synchronicities that happen every day, and they guide me on my path on what I'm supposed to do here. And this has been going on a couple of years now. So, I mean, I don't know what it is. I've never been a religious person very much. I'm more spiritual, not so much religious. But being the skeptic and the scientist and critical thinker I am, I still yet cannot explain what I'm experiencing and what's guiding me here. But it is definitely much bigger than all of us.
Well, it is. And I wrote a book about it called Don't Stop Believing, the Power of Prayer for You. And it basically comes down to this. The God of the universe who created everything wants to communicate with you. He wants you to know him. And as a consequence, if you communicate with him and ask him to show you what he wants you to do, I believe he will lead you to his son. And you will see the reality of life as he sees it for you. And will create in you the motivation and energy to be consistent with what he expects of human beings on this planet, and the sinful human beings too. Because remember this, he brought his son to this world to redeem us to himself, because this is how it happened. I mean, it goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, and it goes to what happened in the desert after Pharaoh's release of the slaves, the exodus of the Jews with Moses, and then you have the Davidic issues with Jerusalem and all of that, and then here comes Jesus, a baby, and he's prophesied to be a king, but he actually is basically a person who recognizes that he is God. He knew who he was, but he died for human beings. He says, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto myself. And I can guarantee you this, Stephen, eternity is forever. It's tragic to be on the wrong side of it. And I believe that if we acknowledge our condition, we repent of our sins. I ask people before I talked to you on the show today, in Walmart, traveling in my little electric cart, because you know I'm handicapped. I asked one person, he had a big old long beard on. He looked like he could be Moses. I says, do you know your sins are forgiven and you're going to heaven? and he was stunned that someone would ask him that. What do you think of that? But the good news is that
people, I can just tell you this: expect the unexpected, and that is what I got to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my take, and I believe it's the right one, and I believe that if we do acknowledge Christ as a Son of God, and we ask God, even if we're an atheist, what it is he wants us to do, he will lead us to him, and from there also we will discover who this God of the universe is for ourselves, and we will become very acquainted with eternity through him. Praise God.
Here, I agree.
All right, well, listen, we're about done for the day. I don't know if you're aware of that. But
wow. Already, that was a good show. It went by quick.
I ask God to help me every time we have a show, Stephen, including getting these episodes from you, because it's absolutely necessary and important. People are looking for something like this to listen to and recognize that they're not alone, that there are others like them who need to know they are not alone, and that the support is there for them if they wish to reach out for it. We throw out a life raft to them, but they have to want it. So I want to say this. Let us continue on with Sean Broderick on living wage jobs next week. We'll try to get it in. I apologize for the tardiness today, but there was just too much to try to get on by 5 o'clock. So we had to start at 5:30 my time, Eastern Standard Time, be 2:30 your time. And we will keep in touch regarding Channel 8 KLAS TV, Vegas, and how this thing rolls with the producers and reporters. And there are several of them. I've made contact with the news department, and I was going to suggest if you would be interested in contacting them yourself.
Yeah, I will definitely
and
do that.
Tell them, this is the real deal, that this needs to be heard.
I'll definitely reach out for sure. Absolutely. Because the more people they have calling in about a certain issue or subject, the more likely we'll be to take notice of it. That's absolutely 100% right.
Right. And I'll just tell you, Ian Russell is their political reporter. I've been trying to reach him. Dan Solomon is their program director for the news department. And George Knapp is one of the investigative reporters. Now, George Knapp interviewed Bob Lazar.
Yes.
In 1989 and has never stopped.
I've studied that particular case.
Mm-hmm.
multiple times very, very, very thoroughly. And here's my view on it, just briefly, because this will be a segue into season 2, episode 1 of News for Us World Fringe Division podcast, which is where we will talk about your book next week or so, give or take. We'll
Okay.
plan for it.
I
So
want to hear that.
the Lazar case, I'm convinced that he was absolutely telling the truth. One, here's why. He did work at Los Alamos. We know this. And we know this for a fact because of a newspaper clipping article about his rocket engine that he made during that time. Now, even though the government or the Alphabet Boys scrubbed his record of having worked at Los Alamos, we have that. And for that reason, and a number of different reasons, like how he described that he didn't get access to everything and that everything was compartmentalized, which is consistent with how things are done. And, in the black budget programs and SAPs, special access programs. So, yeah, I'm convinced Lazar's story is 100% accurate and truthful to the best of my knowledge, just based on what I've seen and research. So, that being said, you have to wait until season 2, episode 1 of News for Us World Fringe Division podcast to catch the rest of that conversation. So, don't forget to follow that page and those channels. We're going to be doing our premiere of season 2, episode 1 on that in the next week or so.
I'd like to be part of that conversation.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to be a part of it. The whole reason that I'm doing it is because it's going to be about your book and we're going to talk about the issue.
Cool, man.
It wouldn't be a proper show if I didn't have you on, because I'm going to be talking about your book.
Well, cool. I know. I mean, hey, this is what's happening. I mean, you talk about the flyway to introduce other things. Here we go.
Yep. Absolutely. All right.
Getting the people's attention is number one. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Getting their attention. That's the key. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We will be back next week, Tuesday, February 20th, for episode 7 of season 2 of Campaign for America. So thank you for joining us, folks. We will. Hold on 1 second. I'm just trying to. I got to get the outro back up. I accidentally exited out of it. It's all right. I got it. So yeah, don't forget to check out our other social media. We're on Twitter or X, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, Telegram, Twitch. All the links are in the description, folks. So go ahead and follow us on X. We're trying to build that up quite a bit. We cover a lot of the school board issues on that, and we post a lot of school board related stuff here in the Valley on that channel as well. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap this up with our outro and then call it a show. All right, folks. And if you want to reach out to myself or somebody on my team, you can send an email to stephenphillips26@gmail.com. And send me a message there, folks, if for any of my viewers that want to reach out and communicate with me directly. And if you have any ideas for issues that you think we should be covering as well on some of my shows, I would love to hear your feedback, folks. So that being said, let's wrap this up and call it a show.